Midinde Ama.
Midende, y'all.
I'm Stacy. It's my husband Doyle. So we want to just welcome you to Jordan's Gonna Go.
Aquaba.
Listen, we are back in the U.S. from our vacation, birthday celebration, 33rd anniversary trip to Ghana. We just balled it all up into one ball and said, you know what, this is going to be a trip. We just got to make it a memorable one, and we're just going to celebrate all in one. And now we are back in the U.S. and I'm feeling the jet lag. I'm feeling the jet lag. So this will be my first full day back at work. So, but we wanted to come on and just share with you our experience. So we're gonna come along and just to just share what we experienced while we were there in Ghana, the sightseeing, some things that we learned. So, but today we want to specifically talk about our experience at Cape Coast at the slave castle. What an experience.
Great experience.
What an experience. I mean, a ball of emotions, highs and lows. We stayed in Accra. We was in Accra, Ghana. I don't know why I thought the distance from Accra, Ghana to Cape Coast was like 2 hours.
Yeah, we thought it was 2 hours, but it was actually 4.
4 or 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how we missed up. I was like, what? It is so. But anyway, the drive, it was okay. We had a wonderful driver. Our driver was William. He's an amazing driver, and he was our tour guide and very, very knowledgeable. And baby, let's just put a pin right there. The driving in Ghana. Honey, I don't know where you are from, but even in the U.S., when we talk about the ATL traffic or Miami traffic or whatever, nothing, baby. If you can drive in Ghana,
you can drive anywhere.
You can drive anywhere, honey. You don't pass a test and get your driver's license. You have to grow up witnessing and experiencing the driving in Ghana. Honey, if you can drive in Ghana, you can drive anywhere. I don't think you call that driving. It's called surviving. The survival of the fittest driver. That's what I'm going to call it. Whoop! And I'm not over-exaggerating at all. If anybody know, if you know, you know. Okay?
That's right. We talking about if it's a lane, are they even acknowledging the lane? But anyway.
Yeah.
To just be a driver in Ghana is just a great feat to do every day. Even with the motorcycles, the buses, the little van buses, and everything else that people use for
But
travel.
you know what? Too, like here in the West, we have road rage. I'm like, you can cut somebody off and they'll chase you down. You know, and give you the number one finger, or some people there've been fights. They even got off the car fighting on the side of the roads, and some people were unalive. Even with all the hecticness, people may have tapped on their horn, or maybe a couple times we may have heard somebody say something, but you kept it moving. Wasn't nothing to take nobody's life over. And I'm like, if anybody got one thing I would say about this, if we had road rage here in the States after experiencing in Ghana, it's gone. It's gone. Just go on about your day. But let's get back to what we're here for. So those of you that drive in Ghana, honey, hats off to you. Kudos. All right. So now back to our trip and our encounter and experience with our traveling to Cape Coast and actually going to the slave castle for the first time. I saw videos. I heard about it. But to walk on the grounds and experience that for the very first time, and to learn that dark history of how the Atlantic slave trade began and how our ancestors
how they were treated. And this castle, some of the a couple of the places where the men and the women were kept, they were kept in separate places, but it was directly underneath a church.
I think that was one of the other parts that got us. When we think of like church and a Christian church and faith and belief, that's supposed to be engulfed in love, but you know what? Looking at that, for a people who you think are not a people, because they're, you was just part of the other cattle, the camels, the goats, the sheep, and everything else. You were a slave, a person, a black person. But I don't even know what they called it at that time. We've had so many names that has not been our name.
That's right.
So we've, I don't even know what to call it, but you were not seen as a human being. So you were cattle.
Livestock.
Along with, you were livestock to be sold, just like a goat, just like a sheep, just like a camel, just like a horse or donkey, chickens, pigeons.
And for one human being to treat another human being as if they were not human, it has to be, you have to block out a lot of things in your mind, and to just be that way and not even show no type of compassion about what you're doing.
Yeah.
It has to be a total block out.
Yeah.
And to be that way and still have the nerve to have a church and say,
right above.
Yeah, and say, well, we're
right
worshiping
above.
God. We're the only, at the time, I guess they figured that they were the only people that can worship God, and the only people that was basically, I'm going to say, quote unquote, going to a place called heaven. Yeah, so upon all the nasty things, the brutality, the living conditions, how they treated other people were just so unhumane. And for people, just because of the color of their skin, can be treated in a way that is just so disgusting.
Yeah, it was. But just when we say about people, let me just give you a call. At the end of our tour, we were able to get this history book, The Indigenous Slavery in Ghana from the 15th to the 19th century. So just to give you an idea, like at the market near Cape Coast, to give you a price of what a slave costs. Now let me, here. So look at this. These are cowrie shells. If you don't know, for those of you who do know, this is for those who don't. So just give them a moment to kind of look at these cowrie beads. Some people wear them in their hair. They have them for earrings, but I like to wear them because it reminds me of, because this is a form of currency. Okay, this is a form of money. The more of these you had, it kind of told your status and your wealth. So if you had a lot of these, kind of let people know that you got a lot of money. But during the time of slavery, this is what was used as currency, these cowries. So to give you an idea of what was given in exchange, a full-grown man was 120 heads of cowries. A boy 15 years or older was 100 heads of cowries. A small girl was 70 heads of cowries. A grown-up girl was 120 heads of cowries. So there was 300 cowries are sold for a male slave, and for a female slave it was 400. Okay, so 1,000 calories for horses. Y'all, we write in the same sentence. Slaves, cows, horses, ox, and sheep. We write on the same inventory list. You're just a product in stock in the market that's stored and housed. So when you get this information, and we were in that slave dungeon, and we have a picture of you in the male, and there's a picture of me in the females, and to see y'all, and that's that stench when you walked in, like, it still lingers. It still lingers. It may not be as strong, but I can't imagine what it was as if it was stronger, because they did everything. What is that, 300 people? I mean, you're just piled up. Get real close. You're piled up, chained. Well, the women, there were chains to the women, and the men chains to the women. You did your business right there. You maybe even scooted over to the wall where they had a little area if you had to go and relieve yourself. Little trench cut out. Yep. But there were, the conditions, y'all, was horrendous. I think the zoos are kept better. And like you said, that church above there, and then to learn that they would send down 1 cup of like porridge. I think they said it was like something like that would be like oatmeal, but I think they said it was porridge. 1 cup for all those people. You would just drop it, and they're just scrounging. Scram with me, babe. They're just scrounging, to get whatever I can on my hand so I can get away and try to eat. Ooh, it was just, we need to keep you alive. We just want to give you a little substance. Just keep you hanging on just a little bit to get you sold and on that ship and shipped off in the Atlantic slave trade, to get you shipped off to whatever place you were going to, and to never be returned again. Can you imagine? It was so dark and cold. It was dark. There is a section for tourism. They do have lights, but once you get down through there, I mean, it just kept going under and under and under. It was completely dark and cold. And if you've been near a lake or ocean, it's cooler in where the area, where that water is. And you can only imagine as the temperatures drop, they were stifling hot in the daytime. And then probably at night when the temperatures drop, how frigid and cold it must have gotten. But when just to hear of the life of what our ancestors experienced and went through. And I can say, because we learned that we have family ties that connect back to West Africa, and specific to where we went to visit. And they were family members who got onto that ship, who were sold into a life of slavery. So we wanted to go back and kind of learn that history. And when we learned that the point was for them to never return, and they put over the doorpost that says the door of no return, they went back and put door of return. And we was able to walk through that door. And knowing that in us, we for our mothers, we have 15 years, can go back 15 years in our DNA, is my understanding, from our 15th grandmother. So to go back and touch a place where, I don't know which one it was that came here, I can't give you a name, but to know that we were able to go back and return and be a representation to a place where they would never to return again, to a foreign land, a foreign territory, a foreign language, lifestyle, foreign God, foreign culture. way of life, into a life of slavery. Yeah, it was an emotional experience.
Yes, it was very emotional. Just, we walked through the place where they kept the women. Walked through the place where they kept the men. We walked the path of how they took them out to the ships. We saw the shore where they shipped from. We saw where the area where the water used to come all the way up to the stairs, where they could bring their boats and ships, boats all the way up to close, straight, right at the castle, and they just put people in and send them out to the big ships. But all at the same time, we saw the cannons that they used to fight off other Europeans from coming in and taking over.
Yeah. Yeah, give us a second. The dog is coming down, so you may get some. Belly's gonna say hi. If you can hold it right there so she don't knock it down. Good morning, Belly. All right, so we have guests. We have company. Belly, want to come up and say hi? All right. So, anywho, Belly tail is hitting the door. So while we're there, we talked about the church. We talked about the slave dungeon, and I wanted to ask you about. Can you come on in the camera? I wanted to ask you about. We did the slave castle, the slave dungeon, and we did the. Give us a second. We're trying to get the dog put up. Thank you. Bye, Bailey. The slave castle for the male and female. The dungeons for the male and female. The church above, and how they'll be having service. Oh, and even in the church, there was a little cutout for security guard, armed security guard. So you're in this dungeon, and that echo, you can listen to and hear what is being, if there's any plots or plans or anything that's being said, and they can hear the services going on downstairs while they're in anguish and turmoil below, worshiping how great thou art, and we bless you, and we thank you, and we love you. And the people in the dungeon below this church, I don't know what God they were worshiping, because I don't know the things that was done. I don't know. I don't know. We cannot have and serve the same God that would tell you it's okay and use scripture and the word to justify such crude and heinous behavior and actions on a people that is created by the Most High. I am convinced it's not the same. It cannot be the same. It is not. I have come to grips with that. It has not. It is not, because you and I serve the same God. But your God tells you it's okay for you to mistreat me. It's okay for you to rape, beat, sell, mistreat. Everything that was done with the Atlantic slaves and slavery from that point on. And we're praying to the same God. We're saying, Lord, bless my business, and I'm part of your prophet. And I'm praying for my freedom and my deliverance of my people. But we're praying to the same. We can't. That sounds like confusion.
Yeah.
Delusional. Yeah.
We saw the governor's quarters. We saw where we also went to the room where they would bring the slaves up to
the auction.
Yeah, the auction.
That's what I wanted to ask you. That was a whole other experience. So when you saw that,
yeah, it was different ways how they sat. Like the people on the front row were a certain type of cell. The people on the second row was a better type of cell. Then if you're the further back you are, the more expensive
like you're seating on an airplane. Yeah. You know, first class, business class, comfort plus, whatever, and what is it, coach, economy, you know. Whatever. So that's how your seating was in the court. So we're sitting there, and just imagine, I got my bag of calories or whatever you may have, and they bring out a male slave and starting the bidding, you know, whatever, and you're dead. I got more calories. That's my slave I'm taking. Opening the mouth, the teeth, and having them to parade and turn around, and because it's like buying a car. You're shopping for profit. So of course you want the best, and you want to know, you want to check everything out, and they're bidding. That's a fine one there. Oh yeah, she got childbearing hips. She can give us lots of children. Yeah, we want her. So, what you got? I think
Well, you know, just to have the opportunity to go to not only to step foot in Africa, not only to step foot in Ghana, but to also take some of the same steps that our great ancestors took, and not meaning it in a way where, you know, but just to be able to have to go there and see it for yourself, and not just hear it from other people all the time. Sometimes you just got to get out and
taste, touch, and see for yourself.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to get out and be there yourself, touch it yourself, feel it yourself, get your own experience, because sometimes we can live through other people's experience and not have one of our own. So we can say we have our own experience. We've been there. We touched the walls. We prayed with our guide in every room. We did
honored our ancestors.
Did a moment of silence every time we went in a place where they were kept. And you know, it was you know, just it was just a sight to see.
Yeah.
That we toured, we've you know, went through the door. And for years it was the door of no return. Yeah. For years it was, once they left, there was nobody from the West coming back anymore. But now, on the other side of that same door is the door of return. So people from the West that was sent there, and their grandchildren, great grandchildren,
their descendants
can come back through that same door and say, "We have returned."
We returned.
And we was able to take pictures at that door, and just because those memories are gonna last forever. And get your own experience.
And go and learn your history. Learn the history.
Yes.
And people like to say, "Oh, the school." Honey, it's not. Don't count on your government, your school, and your churches to teach your history. You go learn and teach. Go learn for yourself. This is us a live history class, a history lesson. We wanted to know. We're searching. We're learning. We want to know for ourselves, and we went to see for ourselves. But babe, what about the time when that moment when we both reached back and put our hands on the wall at the end of the tour?
And see,
how was that for you?
That wall, just touching the wall itself. Okay, that wall was actually an entrance or walkway to being shipped out of there. go into the boats. And what they did, somebody else came in and decided that they was gonna just seal that wall, that same wall where they would take them to go through the tunnels to get to the ships. So
yeah,
to
let me put a
that,
pin right there. So imagine this window, the wall where they would walk through, right? And someone came back some years later and they bricked up the wall and covered it up.
Yeah, they sealed the wall, and we was able to touch that wall. We weren't able to walk through it, but we was able to touch that same wall, a passageway that they had taken years ago. And you know, just to see, they have a certain section that they was just that they had roped off, a little 3 by 3 foot section that they roped off, that where they didn't want people to stand on because it was at the actual built up waste that had solidified of those slaves, and they didn't want people to walk on it, and they just wanted that part to be
preserved through history.
Yeah.
Tell the time.
So you can imagine how you can see the marks on the walls and the pathway of how the urine went from each room to each room. But at the end of the day,
like when we touched the wall,
yeah.
How did that? What was going through you? What were your thoughts?
It was emotional, in a sense where you see that people, our ancestors were led through, and they didn't know where they were going. They didn't know what was ahead of them. They didn't know what to be prepared for. But one thing for sure is they had to survive in order for me to be here.
Yeah, and they survived.
And what was not meant, it's always said, what was meant for your bad, God meant it for your good. So we can look at where we come from, but our future in knowing where we come from should not be a future of no hope, because they had to have hope. They had to have faith, and they had to believe in God that things were going to get better. And now, as descendants and people that knowing what they had to go through, we shouldn't complain about a lot of things. What we should do
very humbly
is just move forward, make life happen for you, and stop complaining about what somebody else didn't do for you, because they didn't have nothing. They didn't have a quarter, they didn't have $1, they didn't have a house, they didn't have a car, they didn't have a boat, they didn't have nothing but what was on their backs when they left. And
then they stripped them. They were naked.
Yeah.
Given new names.
Yeah.
I mean, stripped totally of their identity.
A new name, a new religion, a new
world, new way of life.
Yeah.
I mean,
new language. They couldn't even talk in their own language.
But to touch that wall for me, to touch that wall, y'all, when I put my hand on that wall, I could not remove it. When I could not remove it when I put my hands on that wall. It was such an emotion, and we just held space for that moment. We just held, this is our dog Belly, y'all. She gonna be in the video. We just held space. We had to hold space in that moment and just remember our ancestors and say thank you. Because if they had not endured, that's the thing. Had they not endured, we wouldn't be here to share our experience and to do this live with you. So if you get a chance to, before we wrap this up, you good? If you get a chance to make it a priority, plan the trip to go to Cape Coast and to tour the slave castle and experience that. All right, it's life changing, and it's a dark history, but not knowing what happened or not knowing the history does not mean it didn't happen. Ignoring it does not mean it didn't happen. When you remember and you know, you can't help but to be better, and you move differently to make sure that it's not revisited, it's not relived, it does not happen again. We find ourselves getting back to who we are, learning who we are. We even got our names. That's why we started this with Midinde Ama. My name is Ama.
My name is Y'all.
Midinde Y'all. And even going back to learning the Paleo-Hebrew language that my ancestors spoke. I was like, so I'm learning what we just shared that was called Tree. That was part of the language. So, but just to experience that, and it was an awesome and amazing experience. Yes, it's going to tug and pull at your heart, but it leads to hope. It leads to hope. That's the word I have, hope.
I have hope as well.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Like, share, subscribe. And this has been the Jordan's Gonna Go. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting here on our YouTube channel. All right, Belly. Tell people bye.
Bye, baby. Bye. Bye.